Hello and welcome to my new playlist on AP Comparative Government and Politics. This video will be based upon, this playlist will be based upon Ethel Woods' fourth edition of his prep book. So let's get straight down to business here. Oh, before we do that, I'm trusting that you already know about the basics about hypotheses, the scientific method, independent and dependent variable. If you don't, there are other sites and there are videos that can help you do that, but I want to get straight down to business. So let's get started. First, before I first first we got to know the comparative method, and that's basically how do we go about comparing countries. Well, there's the empirical model, which says let's just look at the data and statistics, and there are a few examples of data that you'll encounter in this topic, in this AP. And here's a nice chart, blah blah blah. But basically, what these guys would do is these guys would create the graphs, and that's and they'd analyze it to some extent, but that's pretty much it. And then the normative approach is basically like, let's go deeper into it. Let's judge the statistics. And this goes really deep, and they want to see if it bears well with the country or if it's a really bad sign for the country. How I remember this is that normative sounds like normal, and we're trying to find out what's normal or not. That's just one simple memory trick. So how do we actually go about comparing countries? Well, there's the good old third world approach, and yeah, the first world is the U.S. and its allies. The second world is the USSR and its allies, and the third world are those who don't fit in the above. Basically, it's just like communism versus capitalism, or democracy versus authoritarianism. But the USSR, yeah, it sort of doesn't exist anymore. So this model is outdated. Well, we'll have more on that later. We can also compare countries by studying their formal politics. And what I mean by formal politics is the actual structure of the government. Uh, for instance, a simple example would be the United States has a president and the UK has a prime minister. Well, we can also compare like the bimerical legislature. The United States' bimerical legislature power is divided pretty not completely equally, but it's pretty equal. In comparison, the United Kingdom, its bimerical legislature, the power is really unequal. The House of Lords has very little power in comparison to the House of Commons. We'll go more into detail about that when we actually study Britain. And then another way we can go about comparing countries is by studying their informal politics, which is basically we analyze citizens and their beliefs and values. This lets us get a deeper understanding of the political system. Generally speaking, the government will reflect the values of the citizens. And a big concept here is civil society. Civil society is the way citizens organize and define themselves and their interests. That's the simple book definition, blah blah blah. If I were to make it more simpler for you, here's a few examples of civil society. Protesting. Expressing our views by protesting. Here is a picture of tuition hikes. The tuition hike protest in Britain, and students were protesting about that. We can also do that by forming parties, and here's the 2008 Democratic National Convention, and here is the Logan of the Green Party of Canada. Um, and here's another protest. There's Big Ben in the background, the United Kingdom protesting against the Greek bailouts. Mm-hmm. We'll analyze a bit more on Britain's role with the euro and all that. Then there's also political change. We can also measure what the rates of which countries are changing. Before we go on, the third world approach is outdated, and after the USSR had collapsed, politics has changed, and politics is very volatile. It can change very dramatically, very fast. Perhaps just take a look at these past 6 years in the United States. Politics has radically changed.